Joining us now, Susan Crabtree, new mom, by the way. She has a 2-year-old daughter along with her cat. Susan, great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me, John. Nice to be back.
I know it is. Well, you had to do the maternity leave thing for a while. And now tell us about your daughter, right? She's 2 years old now, Haley?
Yes, she is. She is a joy and quite, becoming quite an independent little gal at this young age of 2. She's doing the typical thing. Actually, she was early in it, but we are very grateful to have her and thankful that she is here. But there are some life challenges with a 2-year-old, as you can only imagine.
Oh, yeah, having gone through 3 2-year-olds. Yes, the terrible twos are real. They do exist. Nobody made it up. It is exactly what they say it is. I want to get to your piece that came over the wire last night that I read with interest. You titled it, Transition Memo Calls on Trump to Tap Trusted Advisor, Not Career Hillary Clinton Bureaucrat for Key Ambassador Post. So here we go again. It's like Marco Rubio got elected president or Jeb Bush or Clinton. When you look at this White House, they staff it with Clinton people, neocons, anybody but Trump people. Now we've got somebody trying to get to be the ambassador of Colombia who was a never Trump or Clinton person. How is this happening?
It was a shock to me too. When I started to do this story, I heard that Tom Shannon, who is the Assistant Secretary of State for Political Affairs, was backing Joseph McManus, who is a 30-year career veteran of the State Department, actually very well liked, has a wonderful sense of humor, I hear, served as executive assistant for Hillary Clinton, which is actually one of her closest advisors. For about 2.5, 3 years, he also did other stints during the Clinton tenure at State Department that were instrumental. For instance, he was a representative to the UN from the United States. That's different than, obviously, our main person at the UN. But he was in charge of the IAEA, which is, holding Iran accountable for curbing its nuclear ambitions back before the nuclear deal, which didn't go so well. But he is someone who has well-liked career guy at State Department. The people I talked to said they don't have problems with him really personally. It's just that he is a loyal Clinton supporter, and he was one of the key people that she was talking to right in the middle of the immediate aftermath of the Benghazi attack. And he also had to have to make sworn statements to in court legal documents for her during the email scandal. He was the person who said we let her not have a government-issued phone. During that time, we let her use her own phone and her own BlackBerry and had her own email, and we really never questioned her about that. So people were saying, this is the person that you want to serve as ambassador to Colombia, one of our staunchest ally in Latin America that is experiencing all kinds of problems right now with its peace process and trying to get the FARC and the narco trade under control. And this is not the right person at this time.
Insane, no question about it. Makes no sense. We keep saying we don't understand how these never Trumpers, Clinton people, Jeb Bush people get into key posts in this administration. Who is in favor of this guy, and how is he now a leading candidate for this? Like, who is making this decision? Is it McMaster? Is it Kelly? I mean, where does this come from?
Well, I think what I found out, it's coming from Rex Tillerson, Secretary of State, and one of his right-hand men, Tom Shannon, the Assistant Secretary of Political Affairs. He's a career person himself, and people have pushed back on a lot of things that he's been in charge of in recent months. I worked on the story that had to do with Venezuela, and he was meeting with the foreign minister from Venezuela secretly to try to get negotiations together when the Trump administration, the White House wanted to sanction Venezuela, and he was pushing for more mediation. So I heard immediate pushback on that, and this is the second time I've heard some very strong pushback. They're saying that this is just exactly the struggle between the State Department and the White House. The people at the White House who really want to put through the U.S. first agenda that Trump talked about during the campaign, and you've got the Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, who's pushing back on that. And it's hard to say whether this is just, he was serving as executive assistant, the same position he served Hillary Clinton, and he also actually served Condi Rice, but that was just for half a year before she left. And I had heard that Condi Rice might be supporting him as well. As you know, Rex Tillerson himself owes his position in some part to Condi Rice because she got behind him and supported his nomination. So, this is what I'm hearing, but people on Capitol Hill, conservatives on Capitol Hill, are furious. He actually had an encounter with 6 conservative senators, Ted Cruz, Mike Lee, Tom Tillis, several others earlier this year. Those senators requested an investigation of how USAID was supporting, USAID, the International Development Agency, was supporting programs funded by George Soros with taxpayer money, and they were asking for an inquiry into this, and he basically just sort of patted them on the head and said, yes, thank you very much for your inquiry or your letter and your contact, but we have this under control. We make sure that everything is in national interest, in the U.S. interest when it involves taxpayer money. But certainly the U.S. senators involved felt rebuffed by that exchange, and they are guaranteeing that this is not going to be an easy glide path to his nomination if the Trump administration goes ahead with nominating him.
I mean, you get to the point with this, Susan, where you start to say people that were and are Trump supporters like myself from the beginning, what's the point of the election? I mean, everywhere we turn, there are people in the administration, hired or appointed, who are fighting the very agenda that we helped elect this president to do. And it's one thing if the opposition is coming from the so-called deep state or from the Democrat resistance, or if Democrats are winning elections locally. And I mean, we get that, right? That's part of the battle. That's part of the political revolution going on. But we spend all of our time fighting people that Trump hired. It's incredible what goes on. I mean, you think about what your expose is, and I encourage anybody to go to Free Beacon, the Washington Free Beacon. Susan Crabtree, the piece is called Transition Memo Calls on Trump to Tap Trusted Advisor, Not Career Bureaucrat for Key Ambassador Post. It's about the post for Colombia. And just another example of how, he brought Reince Priebus in to make the trains run on time, and then Tillerson and all these people that don't, Gary Cohn, none of these people, McMaster of the skies, believe in any of Trump's agenda. In fact, they find it to be an irritant. They find it to be annoying, his whole agenda. They would rather have a Jeb Bush administration or a Clinton administration. Think about it. Kelly, McMaster, Cohn, right? There's 3 right there. All right, let's just take those 3. Tillerson, right? 4. If Hillary Clinton was president and these same 4 people were in her administration, would anybody raise an eyebrow? No. Maybe Tillerson because he was with the evil Exxon. That's McMaster, Kelly. They're all never Trumpers, neocons, fight wars, send troops. Now they're trying to get out of the Paris. They're trying to stay into the Paris Accords. And Trump is letting all this go on around him. It's his own people. You start to think, does he have any idea what's going on or what? I don't know. I think he let all this go, and now I don't know what he's going to do. Susan, thank you for that. It's very frustrating for us who believe in the Trump agenda, who believe that he's on the cusp here of a political revolution, and then day after day, our people get nothing, and the opposition gets all the jobs to not only not implement the policy, undermine it. How the hell does this make any sense?
It's really strange. I mean, the one thing that I found that was completely bizarre in this story was that the USAID, our Agency for International Development, where we go and send our taxpayer dollars overseas to try to help other war-torn or places where people are in dire straits. We're trying to help them overseas, and instead we're using the taxpayer dollars to fund George Soros programs. In this case, in Colombia, where he would serve as an ambassador, Joseph McManus, the person where my story's about, that money was going to fund an anti-Trump website that talked about the problems with a patriarchal society, meaning the U.S. So, yes, this is absurd, and the senators, Ted Cruz and Mike Lee and others, were rightfully questioning. And when Joseph McManus basically rebuffed them, he basically laid his own bed here. He made his own bed, and he is going to there's talk now that the senators are going to put up quite a fight if he is sent to Capitol Hill, if Trump does decide to nominate him. But I'm hearing the story is circulating, and that there is a battle going on between the White House, those that are still serving Donald Trump, and the White House NSC staff, and the State Department over this very nomination.
Well, I tell you what, I hope it gets blocked. I hope the fight ends with him not being nominated, and they put somebody in Colombia as ambassador that believes in the Trump's agenda. Otherwise, what was the point of electing him president? Susan, we're out of time. Always good to have you on. Great reporting, as always. You can read Susan Crabtree. Go to WashingtonFreeBeacon.com. It's all there. Susan, good to have you with us. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me on. Great to be with you.